In this lesson, we'll get started building the basic geometric shapes for our factory. Alright, so in the previous lesson, we went through some workflows and some time-saving tips that hopefully have prepared you to begin building a much larger composition using pixel art and will save you some time. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started here. Now, we talked about pixel art being a fairly popular type of style used to illustrate cityscapes. So I think we'll go ahead and just do sort of a grid square here that's going to have a factory in it. Now, this could be a multi-level factory. I'll leave that up to you. Your factory doesn't have to look exactly like my factory, but we'll go ahead and leave ourselves several opportunities for really nice details. So I tell you what, let's go ahead and get started here. Now I have loaded up the actions and the brushes that are included in the project files for this course. So let me go ahead and start by grabbing my 100 brick brush here. And let's check our layers panel. I'm working in the exact same document here, just working on this layer 1 layer here on my outlines group. So we'll go ahead and just show you here that we're also working on 1024 by 768 with 72 pixels per inch. So we have a nice large canvas to work on here. So let's go ahead and get started by just dropping in our first line. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and do sort of a grid square here that's going to be maybe the parking lot of this building, then I probably want a larger line than that. So let me go ahead and drop in another line here, grab my lasso tool with the L keyboard shortcut, and we're going to go ahead and then grab the selection tool and swing that into position here. Now, I want to zoom in fairly close so we can make sure that gets lined up exactly there using that 2-to-1 stepping ratio here. And then we'll zoom back out, and we've got the first edge of our square, and I think that'll be large enough. So let's go ahead and grab that here. We'll move that down just a little bit, and let's go ahead and make a copy of this. I want to go ahead and hold Alt and drag a copy out. And then I'm going to go ahead and use one of my actions to flip this copy horizontal. Let's go ahead and hit F4 so that I can flip that horizontal here. We'll zoom in on that and get that lined up. Now I want to overlap those two corner bricks here. If I want each one of these edges to be exactly 200 bricks, so we'll make sure that gets lined up nice and even there. So let's go ahead and zoom out again, and now we've got the first wedge of this square. So I'll go ahead and select that with my lasso tool. Let's go ahead and make a copy of that as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and flip this one vertical so we can get that exactly upside down and create the other half of our square here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here. We're going to line that up, and we're going to make sure we position that pixel right on top of this one right here. So we'll go ahead and nudge that up one more step. And we've created the base square of our land here that we're going to put our building on. So we can center that up, make sure that's in the right spot here, and we're good to go. Now, before we turn our attention to the geometric forms of the building within this square, let's go ahead and just think about this square for just a moment. If this is going to be a plot of land that we're placing this building in, maybe we want to do a sidewalk around this building here. So let's think about maybe creating the illusion of depth here on the side that's closest to us, the two sides that are closest to us. So we'll go ahead and grab maybe our marquee selection tool. May have to zoom in pretty close, but I want to go ahead and grab everything including that corner pixel here. Just like so. Then we'll go ahead and add to that selection. I'll zoom out really far here so we can select this entire lower half. We'll go ahead and add to the selection by holding Shift here, and then maybe subtract just a little bit if we get one too many pixels selected, just like so. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my selection tool, and I'm going to hold down Alt and then hit my down arrow key once. So we've made a copy of those two line segments. And then, I tell you what, let's go ahead and arrow that down maybe 3 or 4 more times. And we'll go ahead and zoom in on that just a little bit further here. And I think we've created enough depth there to have that be a believable sidewalk, so we'll deselect that. I'm going to go ahead and grab my 1 pixel brush here. Now, if you look in the brushes that are included, I've got a 1 pixel brush. So we'll go ahead and grab that, and we'll zoom in, and we'll go ahead and create the corners of our sidewalk here, just like so. Just connecting these edges, making this appear to be one very shallow geometric form here. So go ahead and just connect all of those like that. Now, if this is going to be a sidewalk, then we probably need to do these inner edges as well. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to my brushes. We'll grab that 100 brick line again. Let's go ahead and drag one in here. We'll reposition that, just like so. And I may want to get that just a little bit closer to the other one here. Just going to nudge that around. Now, at this point, it's probably going to be kind of important that we make sure and get this fairly even. So let's go ahead and just drag that over. We can always reposition these here in just a moment, but I want to make sure that this pixel right here is directly above this pixel. So let's just drag that down, and that looks pretty good right where it's at. So I want to go ahead and set that right about there. Let's go ahead and make a copy of that. We're going to drag this up and create the other half of this first edge. So essentially we're going to create yet another square that's going to be used for the interior of our sidewalk, making sure we get that overlap just like we need it there. Alright, we'll deselect that. Alright, now that we've got that edge created, let's go ahead and do the exact same thing. We're going to go ahead and grab our lasso tool here. We're going to select that line, and we're going to make a copy of that and flip it horizontal. We're essentially creating the exact same square, only a little bit smaller on the inside, which is going to present sort of a new challenge for us. We're going to have to make sure that we get this centered exactly inside our previous square. So let's just go ahead and zoom out on that and see how that's looking. We'll deselect that. It looks like we may have a little bit of an issue here because I'm looking here and it doesn't look like we're quite lined up here horizontally with these 2 pixels. Let me just go ahead and draw a line across there with our 1 pixel brush and illustrate that for you. It looks like we're 1 pixel too high. So let's go ahead and zoom out here. And we'll go ahead and lasso that up one more time. Making sure just to get the pixels we want selected, and then I'm going to go ahead and just move that down 1 pixel just by hitting my down arrow key once. So we've got that created. So we're going to come up now at this point. Let's go ahead and make a copy of that, and we can hold shift to drag that exactly above the original, and let's go ahead and hit our F5 key to flip it vertical. And again, we're going to go ahead and line that up here with the corner pixels. Looks like we got pretty close. We'll just nudge that down 1 time. And we've planned out the inner edge of our sidewalk. Let me go ahead and deselect that here. Alright. Now at this point we're probably ready to go ahead and begin working on the geometric forms of the building. So I'm going to go ahead and grab again my 100 brick ISO line here. We'll go ahead and drop in a line. Let's go ahead and move that over some. Make a copy of that and flip it horizontal. I think for this one, what I'm going to do is maybe a 2-tiered building. And I tell you what, let's go ahead and let's get that lined up. It looks like we need to give it a little bit more room. So we'll go ahead and make sure those pixels line up there at the corner. Then I'm going to go ahead and add to this selection. I'm going to hold down Shift and lasso up that other line segment here. And let's go ahead and move both of those down just a little bit so we give that a little bit more room. Now this doesn't have to be exactly centered in this space. Think about a real building in a real plot of land. It's probably not going to be centered in that space. There's probably going to be things in the parking lot that are around it. So maybe it's a little closer here to the back edge right here. And there's a little bit of space here. Maybe there's an alley or something behind the building. So we'll go ahead and make a copy of that, flip it vertical, and let's go ahead and get that lined up here. Just nudge that into position. Alright, now let me go ahead and show you something that I did. We've actually gotten rid of a pixel right there. Things to be wary of. Let me go ahead and switch over to my pixel brush, my 1 pixel brush, and we'll recreate that 1 brick that we took out. So we don't have any holes in our lines. And now what I'd like to do probably is find the center of this, because what I'd like to do is create 2 different elevations here. Maybe there's 1 half of this building that's taller and then 1 half that's shorter. So let's go ahead and find the center of this square. And if you remember back when we were creating ellipses, we can do that just by drawing a vertical line and a horizontal line through the square. So I'm going to go ahead and draw that all the way down. And we'll do the same thing over here. We'll go ahead and make sure we get our pixel right there in that corner and begin drawing a horizontal line through it, just like so. And now what I want to do is create a division right along here, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my 100 brick brush again, using that quite a bit with these bigger forms, but that's okay. We'll go ahead and lasso that shape up, and we're going to drag that over here to where it goes right through the center of our shape. Now we might get that centered up. We might be just a pixel or so off. It looks like there's our center brick. Yeah, it's not going to be quite on the center, so we'll go ahead and leave it right about there. And now, you know, I think at this point we don't even really need these guides we drew in there. So let's go ahead and erase those. I'm going to go ahead and grab my eraser tool. Now when you grab your eraser tool again, make sure you have your eraser set to pencil so it erases entire pixels. You don't have to worry about any kind of anti-aliasing on your eraser at all. We'll go ahead and erase that line. And also keep in mind that as you're erasing lines, you can click your eraser once, you can hold down Shift and click it again, and it'll erase the entire area between the two times you touched your brush or your pen tool down. So just a few little shortcuts there. Clean that line up, making sure that we have all of our original bricks. Let's go ahead and click once there, hold Shift and click there. And we've gotten that for the most part cleaned up. We got a little bit down here we can clean up. And it looks like we've got one little overlay over here. Let's go ahead and get rid of that brick. Now, notice here as I'm working that I've been pretty much working on the exact same layer. And to be honest with you, as I'm starting these buildings, that's probably not a good idea. It's probably a good idea to take advantage of the fact that we do have the layers here in Photoshop. So let me just go ahead and grab that. I want to go ahead and hit Control X to cut that, and we'll paste that in so that it comes in on a new layer here. And we've got our buildings set up on their own layer. So we'll go ahead and just drag that into position where it was, or approximately there. And we're ready to go ahead and create the elevation of this building. So in the next lesson, we're going to pick up where we're leaving off here, and we're going to continue building the basic geometric forms of this composition.